Oh, sorry. So we need to actually, because we are going to work in that directory, we need to copy the directory address and paste on the shell file. So simply just let me, okay. Simply cd and paste. By right click on the shell, you could paste the directory address. Okay, right click on the shell and just press enter. Now you're in the directory. So the first comment that we are going to execute is that comment. This this actually program of the Amber is take a PDB file as an input file, and the output would be PDB indeed. So in this file, this check the name of the PDB file and the library of the Amber. And after that, if you load TLib, it should compare these two together and told you, as it tell you what's the difference naming between your files and the Amber library. And so let's execute this file. As I mentioned, you don't know to remember and actually memorize all these comments because it's lots of comments, and just you need to learn how to use that comment. Okay, nobody actually memorized these such a comment. So just right click. Okay, and we have our output, you see. So you are going to tell TLib to compare our output PDB file with a library, with its library, to see which residue or which atom Amber could not recognize, so we could parameterize it. Okay, so just simply type TLib. This if you write TLib and hit enter, it's actually actually bring you to the TLib environment. So for loading PDB, the first thing you need to mention is that I told you before the Amber has a specific force field. You see, if you remember from the previous session, I just put this in my slides and told you this is a force field. Okay, and based off the force field that Amber has, okay, it could, based off this part of the force field that Amber has, it could actually recognize the water molecule, the ion, and the standard residue, or amino acid. So just copy this part because we need to load first force field too, because without that Amber could not recognize our force field. So just right click all these together and just hit enter. After that, you are going to load your PDB that you are going to check it with the Amber library. In that step, you just told TLib to compare, or purpose would be comparing or file or output file with the Amber libraries. And then we load Amber library first, and then we load or file. Okay, for loading or file, just simply type or copy load. This told you load, and or PDB, which means load a PDB file, and this is our name of the PDB file, PDB. Okay, just hit enter. Okay, so if you see that, you see just all the information, Amber could recognize all the residue except these. SEP, you see, create a new atom name. See, it means that Amber could not, this atom type or this residue type is not existed actually in the Amber library. Yes, and also there's a ligand that Amber could not recognize it. So based off that, we need to parameterize these residues, yes? So that Amber could recognize that, because we need this serine to be deprotonated and we need that ligand. So just type quit to quit from the tilde. So now we are going to start parameterize of the ligand. Okay, for parameterize of the ligand, we have these comments for parameterizing ligand. There is a program named Antichamber that helps to, we use Antichamber. I just told you in the previous session that we have Antichamber so that we could parameterize a new ligand or new residues, so that Amber could not have any library for this ligand, and with this parameter, with this Antichamber, we could build a parameter for parameter or library for this type of residue, so that Amber could use it to simulate or file. Okay, so this comment first, because the first step, all things in the PDB file. Yes, PDB format. You see, all things is in PDB. Okay, so for a starting or for a making library, first we need to change or turn the PDB file to the multi-file. Multi-file is actually a format of the protein that we could actually use. Some software use it. For example, Schrodinger could also support multi-file too. So multi-file is exactly the information or the name, uh, all things would be exactly like a PDB file, but in different format, like a Word and PDF. All the material is the same, but the format is different. For example, you have a Word file, you want to change it to the PDF file. So this multi and PDB is just like that, okay? So we use -fi, which recognize that we want actually, or this is actually in input file for that, because the anti-chamber input file is PD mode 2 for preparing the parameterize. So because we have a PDB format for the GTB, first we need to change the PDB to the mode 2 file. You could actually use Schrodinger to change the save the PDB file into multi-file, but I found that it's better to use Amber to create multi-file from the PDB file itself. It's for the consistency, for better actually, because we are going to use this multi-file in the Amber environment. So I think it's better to use Amber for actually creating multi-file. So for multi-file, we just use that anti-chamber, that I, it means the import file, the input file would be the GDP PDB, which is, we actually create this PDB using a Schrodinger. That -fi means that, or if the format of the input file is PDB, yes, because our input file -i is PDB, so the format fi, format of the input file is PDB2, or output would be mol2, because we are going to change or turn the PDB to the multi-file. The format FOF stands for format, or its output would be multi-file. This is correct, and this is some parameter that we need to actually keep it in default. And the important things that -nc. -nc, we use that parameter in the case that, or actually, or ligand or our molecule is have a charge. And you see that if you if you see the PDB file, just let me show you something. Okay. If you open the GTP, you see this is -3. Yes, this is -3. So we need to take care of this charge too. So, okay. So we use -NC to tell Amber or antichamber that, okay, when you're changing the format from PDB to the multi-file, be sure that or ligands, or be careful that all ligands have a charge, and this is the charge of our molecule. So just copy these comments. These comments also exist on a Amber format, Amber website. I just prepare all these files for you. I will send it to you, so you could actually, if you want to, you could actually read more in the Amber site about each comment, but the comment is the same. Just you need to think about how to use these comments, okay? Because the comment for all the simulation is the same, just the usage of the comment is different, okay? So just simply by right click. So now Antichamber is actually preparing the file so that it could change the PDB to the multi. You see all the status is actually passed, it means or good. Check first Antichamber, check for the weird bounds. So because we prepare or starting a structure correctly, all things is good. And it take a while so that Antichamber could change the multi-file to the PDB file. So let's wait a bit. Okay, good. So after that, I mentioned that you need to, so let's see our directory. There you go. This is our multi-file. You see, we make a multi-file from our starting PDB file that contain all the information, exact information contained in PDB file, and actually by using -NC, we save the charge too, okay? So in the next step, we are going to use Antichamber to create preppy file. This preppy file, we need this preppy file to create farms mode file. This is a parameterized file that allow Amber to recognize actually our molecule. So we need to have this file so that Amber could use, because these for preparing this file, we need multi-file. First, we need to create a multi-file from the PDB. That's exactly what we did. Okay, so just copy and paste this file. If you see, we have -NC here too, because our ligands have a charge, which is -3. Just copy and paste that file. So you see, this recognize the net charge and calculate the electrons, and all things looks good. If you have any weird things during in your actually ligands, or if you do not clean your PDB file, in that step, it gives you error. I will show you after the finishing that. After creating the topology file, I will show you what's happened if you get error. Okay, that's done. So after that, we need to create, we have If you refresh that, okay, you see, first we create multiply. We use multiply to create preppy file, and we need this preppy file to create the final parameter order or ligand. You see, we use this for the final step. We need to use this program of the Amber that use GTP preppy file as an input, and our format of the input is preppy, and we that dash O, which means the output file would be farm scope. So we just copy and paste these commands, and if we check, there you go. So we have the all parameter needed for MD simulation, or that Amber could recognize that. This is actually the helper. This is, we need, for actually Amber, that's in order to make Amber recognize this file, we need to create that file so that Amber use it as a library. Okay, so another things that we are going to use, this mentioned, we need to create a library for this SEP or deprotonated serine 2. It's actually the overall steps is similar, but there is some addition because because this is a unregular residue, so this is an additional step. So exactly like what we did for the ligand, we need to first change the PDB to the multiply or create a multiply using PDB. So as this is the deprotonated serine, if you look at that, okay, let me find the serine, okay. You see the charge of the serine is -1, yes. So we need to apply that. Okay, so we use antichamber, the input file would be the serine or sec PDB, the proteinated serine. The format of the input file is PDB, the output would be mol2, and the format of the output would be mol2, and our charge would be -NC -1. Just copy and paste. Okay, so if you check, there you go. We have a multiply for the serine. So need to, for the parameterize the serine, we need to create an AC file for that. Okay. So as I mentioned, for each step of the actually creating the parameter for the each ligand or each non-standard residue, it's very important to keep the keep the charge of the residue too, because every change in the charge would be leads the system to be collapsed. That's why actually we use deprotonated serine, because if the charge of the residue it's not important, so we could use a regular serine. And we know actually based off the literature and based off the crystal structure that we know that serine is coordinated to metal ion. So we need an AC file for parameterizing or making a library for the serine. So we use this multi-file, just copy this comment. Okay. So it's done, because the difference between you actually, I think, just mentioned that for the making parameterize of the for the ligands, it's actually take much more longer time because the ligand is much bigger than the serine. That's why. So Just let's see the, okay. Yes, it's recording. That's it, that this session is getting recorded, yeah. So, another things that I just want to show you. Okay. So we just created an AC file. The important step that you just guys, whenever you do the MD, in each step, after each step is getting done, just look at the output. For example, I found that when you actually use this command, Amber could not name these residue or name these atom correctly because NT, we don't have NT in a protein or in a residue name. Okay, just it. I don't know how it's actually add T to the end. So just delete the T, and because these, if you see CO, just need to move forward the N that sort is correctly. If you don't sort these residue or this atom correctly, it gives you error. Okay, so just back again. I don't actually, I know that Amber could add T incorrectly, just delete the T, and whenever you use that command, I believe Amber just add T to the end, to the first N. So just delete that and push the N so that it could sort correctly. Just save it. There you go. So another step is that first, so we have that. So I mentioned that if you see the PDB file for the serine, I mean the protonated serine, you see that we don't have this residue, yes? And we don't have any kind of cyclopropyl residue. So we should prepare for each residue, each non-standard residue that we have. We need to create this such a file that's that identify the head name atom for the starting part of the atom, the tail name for the tail name of the residue, and main chain atom in the residue, and omit name. This omit name means that this is a kind of atom that exists in that don't exist in an actual PDB file. Okay, so we need to use that atom. For example, if you okay, just for example, if we see that, you see in actual PDB, you couldn't see actually these type of the residue. If you check your non-standard residue in a Schrodinger, you couldn't see this type of the residue. This is just a cap because we separated this residue from another residue, and these residues in the protein, all the residue connected to each other. Yes, when we deleted and separate a residue from the rest, okay, it's actually Schrodinger thinks that okay, this is a separated residue and this residue have no connectivity with other residue. But we know that it's wrong. Yes, it's not your fault. It's a software fault. Actually, because we want to create a parameter for this non-standard residue, and we know that in actual world, okay, in a PDB or in original PDB, this non-standard residue is exists, and connect to the other residue, okay, is a carbon residue, we need to tell the amber that amber, we know that this is not a standard residue, but in actual word, this residue is connected to the surrounded residue. And these two atoms is not exist. Yes, all clear, guys, in that part? Uh, could you hear me?
Yeah.
I believe so. I couldn't hear you guys. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I heard you. I think I understood what you said. It's just right now a lot to take in,
Yeah,
but
I
I
just
think,
yeah, I know. I just try to actually tell you why we need to delete this residue. Yeah, it's a bit actually because it's super new to you, and just this session is recording, and I'm here to actually to answer all the questions you have. So and when you try it on your own, you could digest the information much more better. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, perfect. So, uh, so that's why actually we need to delete this kind of residue because it's not exist in the real world. This residue is connected to the other residue. Yes, in the surrounded residue. We don't have any missing parts in the protein. All these protein and atom and molecules are connected to each other with a bond, with a specific bond. And we, because amber could not recognize this residue, we we need to delete this other residue because we have connectivity and library for other residue except that residue. Okay, so we need to prepare library and parameterize library for these, just only these non-standard residue. So we need to separate it. When we separate these residue, Schrodinger or the other software add these type of the atom, hydrogen, because uh, it's Schrodinger thinks that, okay, this is just one residue. So based off the chemical rules, these residue, these molecules should be have this age, and also they need to have cap. So we know, okay, so we need to create such a file, the MC file, that tell the Amber that what is the residue, the specific atom, and what atom should be omit because it's not correct, it's not real. So we need that atom is added by Schrodinger, and this atom not exist in the real world. So we need atom. And uh, the charge and the starting point and the end point of the starting point of the atom in the residue. For example, the main chain contains this C carbon alpha, and the head atom of the residue that is started is N, and the tail would be C, and the charge is -1. Okay, but just we need to just prepare this. So I prepared this one too. So when we prepare that stuff, we could use that to update the information. Just use this per prep gen, which use the AC file that's prepared, that's what we created before, and to create prepin, which is information and parameterized file for the non-standard residue. Just use click right. Okay, you see, MD. Okay, so just need we use that file to create Farsi mode, which is already we make the Farsi mode for GDP too. So we just do the same thing for the non-standard residue. Because you see, when you actually want to use the command, just think that, for example, these commands need a prepin file, which is kind of prep file, prepin file as an input file. So we need to create prepin file. So which command use the prepin file? This command create a prepin file from AC file. So which command create AC file? We use anti-chamber that use multi-file to create AC file. So that's how you could organize your comments and think about how to use these comments. So the final one, we need to actually use the grape, because there is if you see the pharmacy mode, there is the Athene pharmacy mode that we need to clean that stuff, strip out the Athene line. We don't need to Athene line. So for eliminate this strip, we use grape file. This is a Linux file. This is not Amber file. This is a grape is a Linux file. You could use it for other purpose too. And finally, we use this command param to create the final information for non-standard residue. Okay, so now we have all information that we want for creating a correct topology. Because Amber have not any library for GDP and the protonated series, we needed to create all these things ourselves. So we use Amber program such as anti-chamber and some Linux such as grep commands for creating these information. Okay, so another things that so back to the if we back to the lib file that I prepare, so we need to actually have the receptor file. Receptor file, this is a file that have contain all the atom except the ligand. Okay, so how to create a receptor file? We already know that we have all the information. This is the whole protein that contain all the information, ligand and water molecule. So just copy this here and open it. If you go down, just for creating receptor file or rec file, you just need to delete the ligand. That's it. Just ligand, just delete it. Select that and delete it. And do not forget to fill this space too. Okay, because in the PDB file, there is no, if you leave the space in this way, Amber gives you error. Just the things that there is could be a thing, there are things, but there is no things. So this gives you error. So I'm just simply save and rename it to the RC rec file and just grab it and put it here. Yes, guys, you need to actually maybe have just 1 minute. So use the same file and